What's going on, everybody? Welcome to your live weekly astrology forecast for the week of September 13th through the 19th of 2021. I think those dates are right. Brian Scarborough here, Fixed Air Moon, keeping the collective fixed on astrology. Truly appreciate you for tuning in. We're going to talk about the astrology this week for the collective, and then I'm going to jump into all 12 signs. So after this is up and just on my YouTube channel, I'll timestamp for each of the signs so that if you want to just jump to your sign in the week, or if you catch this later, you can do that. We can do that here. So, hope you're doing outstanding. It was a pretty big weekend. Of course, the anniversary of 9/11 happened, a 20-year anniversary. I was talking a lot about that last week and sort of the insights astrologically that came to me, and pretty quiet. I think what stood out to me the most about that 9/11 that we just had was just the relentless amount of truth coming out about 9/11. I've never seen anything like it. Like, there was just truth everywhere. I've never seen so much truth about what happened on 9/11. So, I mean, that was really cool to see, just memes and Twitter and Instagram and everywhere that I was checking out online. I mean, it was like, that was pretty amazing. So that was cool because on a consciousness level, I feel like we're just, as a collective, making huge leaps and bounds. And so many people are awake and they see what's going on. And I think that that is extremely beautiful in itself and so important in these times that we're living. And then another thing that came about on 9/11, which was Saturday, yesterday, was I was driving, and I often get a lot of, I don't know, insights when I drive. Things just kind of come to me. I kind of meditate while I drive. Like, I pay attention, but I get very, like, I have a lot of visions. I have a lot goes on. I don't know. My ego just kind of, like, I got Mars in Sag. I feel like that makes me a pretty good driver. But I just, like, drive and get where I'm going, and then I'm like, how'd I get here? Because I was just in, like, some crazy channel meditative space. Really weird, but I'm a good driver, I assure you. I do pay attention. I'm there, but I'm like multiple timelines at once when I drive. Anyways, what came up was I was thinking a lot about what I was talking about last week, and even during the daily horoscopes from last week about this weekend, about how I feel like we're on this huge precipice and I feel like anything could happen. And while I was driving, I was really thinking a lot about 9/11, and it just kind of honestly, like, Neptune kind of just, like, came through, and I felt like I was kind of like channeling Poseidon and Neptune energy. It was very spiritual, but it was also like, maybe it was some fog. I'm not sure. It's hard to, even as an astrologer, it's hard to pinpoint Neptune, but this is where I'm going with this is we're going through to start this week. On Monday, we get the exact opposition to Neptune, which is an interesting way to start the week. And we've been feeling it this weekend. And I think that I was really going back and thinking about these past Neptune transits. We've had a lot of them this year. I mean, we had Mercury in Gemini in May and June. Yes, May and June. That were squaring Neptune. And Mercury was getting ready for a retrograde there. Same thing that kind of is going on right now. And it was prolonged. So we had 3 hits, but 2 of them were very slow. So we were just kind of sitting there with this slow Mercury square Neptune. And it was very, like, everything felt like it was okay. And Jupiter was in Pisces back then, and even Jupiter in Pisces. And I think what I'm getting at too is Neptune is so strong right now with this numbing effect, with this, like, sugarcoat, kind of, if you will, the rose-colored glasses that a lot of people talk about with Neptune. And even with our own mind back then, it was like, I think we all knew something was coming, but everything seemed so okay in the moment. And then sure enough, we get through that retrograde. Jupiter comes back into Aquarius in its retrograde, and here we are today. Like, everything got real quick. And I think that's been the theme with Neptune this year. And with Mars, even in the opposition to Neptune, it was very dreamy. It was very, like, I mean, at least for me, it felt like intoxicating. It felt like I was like, everything felt so good, and I had, like, I had good energy. Everything was just kind of like falling into play. And I think that that happened for a lot of people, at least people that I've been talking to. Of course, some people are going through, bigger transits in their own personal life, and they could be feeling more intensity during those collective transits than others. But it just seems like this Neptune is so strong here. It might be the strongest. I think Neptune and Pluto might be the strongest energies in the chart because they're at these in this third decan of course Neptune and Pisces where it's at home. And I think that's why it's even stronger than Pluto, which is at these final degrees of Capricorn here finishing up, is because it's so strong here. And I think the delusion can be so heavy, or the illusion, or the everything's fine can like, but I think at the same time a lot of people are like, no, things aren't just fine. So there's a little bit of that. Anyways, back to where we are here now. Of course, we're dealing with this sun in opposition and all this stuff. And I brought up the Mercury retrograde cycle in Libra that's played out over the last 3 cycles, which is intense stuff. Like 9/11 happened with Mercury retrograde entering shadow in Libra. 2008, financial crisis, Mercury full stay retrograde shadow in Libra. 2015, Paris attack, full stay retrograde in Libra during that time period. So it was like, wow, a lot of that. But are we just in this place of numbing out right now with the collective energy to where, besides for what Biden came out and said on Friday, right before 9/11, which he didn't even talk about 9/11, very interesting, the day before it, I mean, all of it was just a talk about mandates and putting blame on people, and really there was no unity at all in that speech. It was just telling people to be mad at people who aren't following his orders, and how his patience is running thin. It was a lovely speech he gave. Sarcasm. So where do we go? I don't know. That's the thing. We're coming into these intense times. We're really close to Mercury. Mercury's going to come to the third decan of Libra in this shadow, getting ready for its retrograde, starting to square over to Pluto, which it will station and be squaring Pluto for a long time. So we dealt with that in Gemini season with the long squares over to Neptune. Now we're getting the long squares over to Pluto in the middle of this strong Neptune energy right now, that I think once it comes off, especially with Mars coming into Libra this week, it suddenly becomes more about really figuring out justice, really figuring out what's right, what is equal, and what gets win-wins to happen in life. And I think the intensity builds up for that. And I think what's interesting is if all the 9/11 stuff, which I talked about when I first started, that was clearly an inside job. I mean, I feel like if you don't know that at this point, you're not going to like my channel because you're asleep, plain and simple. But clearly that. But guess what? They put all the blame on one person, of course, bin Laden. But of course, it was more than that. It was Arab, just people in general were being extremely, outcasted, were being extremely scrutinized. That they were a terrorist, right? So the government, of course, had planted in everybody's mind a program of who were the bad guys. And of course, Biden comes out Friday and talks about all that he talked about in his speech, and how people should be pissed at the unjabbers, and how you should be angry and patience is wearing thin. Well, guess what? Guess what this is leading to? That's right. You guessed it. If you're a free thinker, if you don't follow what the government says, if you don't want to get an experiment put in your body, you are going to be a terrorist. It seems plain and simple. It seems pretty obvious, like that's where things are going at this point. So how do we find what's fair in that? And I think that it's very interesting having Mars come into its detriment position in Libra for all of this, because, and with the sun in trine to Pluto, because the intensity ramps up around the government with Pluto in Capricorn, and within our day-to-day lives. And he talked about jobs, and he's going to put people out of jobs because and then they can't support their family because they don't want to take place in really plain and simple, is just an experiment at this point. How could you really blame people for that? Like, it's one thing if you really trust in it but you still want other people to have their freedoms, like that's perfectly fine. That's how it should be. Like if you believe in something, go do it. But how do we find justice now? So now we have to try and figure out balance with our ego, with other people, in intense times dealing with really weird stuff with the government. And what's going to happen? And then we're in all these other intense things that I brought up and all these cusps that I've been talking about. So it's a very interesting week astrologically. I will say one of the interesting things added on to that is Mars comes into Libra. That's Venus's home. And guess where Venus is? Venus is in Scorpio. That's Mars's home. So they have a mutual reception going on. They would much rather be flip-flop, but at the same time they're giving good energy. So they're helping each other out. So we have these two detriment planets that are doing each other a lot of favors in the house of the other. But I think that ramps up a lot of intensity. And I think too where I'm getting with this is even just how big this Mercury retrograde is that we're about to come into. We're not here yet. It's on the 26th, so we're getting there. Mercury's really slowing down. And it's going to square Pluto, which is Scorpio. And if you go through dispositors, you see that, of course, this Mercury retrograde is going to have a heavy Venus theme because the dispositor of this Mercury retrograde is Venus in Scorpio, which is Mars and Pluto's house. And then, but I give Aries more Mars because I'm more evolutionary. So I give more Scorpio to Pluto. But I do recognize that they both have rulership there. And then you go over, well, what's Pluto doing? Pluto's in Capricorn at these wild degrees and coming up on a station to go direct October 5th and heading right towards, from that point on, towards America's Pluto on February 22nd, 2022 for that Pluto return, which we're already in. I mean, but we haven't got the exact hit yet. And then you look at the dispositor of that Pluto, which could be Saturn, right? Saturn rules a Capricorn, Saturn's in Aquarius, and Saturn has co-rulership in Aquarius too. So then we have this very strong Saturn, which we've been dealing with a strong Saturn, and of course Saturn's also exalted in Libra. So there's a lot of the government, a lot of the transformation, a lot about relationships and finding justice through this transformation. But then if you can go a step further, because you could also say, well, there's Uranus and Taurus. And Uranus and Taurus would be disposited by Venus because it would be dispositing Saturn. So then it comes right back to Venus and Scorpio. So when we're dealing with this Venus and Scorpio, which is going to square Saturn this week and get very close to the opposition to Neptune, I don't believe it will. I might have to double check that. But I think it gets very close. Not the full opposition. I think we get that next week. Like, wow. We are really talking about who are we merging with? Who are the relationships we keep? I mean, I've been saying that for a while now, but like, that's what mentally is about to get rehashed out. And that's what we're already in this shadow for, trying to figure out and trying to understand in the best way we can. Which is deep and intense. But it can be intense love. I mean, we're talking about Venus. This is the planet of love. Whether it's self-love, which I think we all need to justify that in our lives too, or how we relate and see the love in other people, see the beauty in other people, in a time where it's going to be so difficult because of the division that Neptune and Pisces brings us at these degrees. We're going to have to find some sort of compassion, and we're building up to a full moon, which won't be this week. It'll be the following Monday. You know, pretty close to Neptune. It'll be at 28 Pisces. And what is that? You know, that's interesting too, with the sun finishing up in Virgo. And we are in the last full week of the sun in Virgo. I mean, this is a lot of a buildup here to, I think, a lot of release of the stress of the reality that we don't want. Because we can get so hyper-focused in Virgo season. We can get so focused about ourselves and get critical about what other people are doing. Everything's under this magnifying glass. And Pisces is a surrender. So we're kind of on this build up to this surrender moment of really surrendering a reality that doesn't bring us happiness, doesn't bring us the purity or the harvest that we're looking for out of life. And a lot of this week is that it really is that build up moment to this space. And even on Monday, when we get the exact opposition to Neptune, we're going to have the moon in Sagittarius make an exact T-square at 21 degrees. And 21 degrees is very Jupiter. It's very expansive in the step astrology that Christopher Witecki teaches and that I practice as well. So, I mean, I do think that that is a beautiful moment. It's an intense moment with a T-square, but at the same time, I think it's forcing this vision and even this knowing with the moon in Sagittarius being this focal point of this T-square. And Sagittarius is like, I see, I know. It's intuitive. It's intuitive knowing. You might not even know why you know or how you know or any of that, but I think that for so many of us, there's just going to be this like purification of spirit coming through to try and help you see the vision that you need to move for. And then, of course, the moon's going to come into Capricorn on Tuesday, and Mars is going to come into Libra. What? Even if it sucks, but if you got the vision, and maybe it won't suck. I don't want to say it'll just suck, but if you got the vision, you know that just knowing, maybe it's time to just really do that knowing. Because I think that, especially with the moon square Neptune and just the moon in general, the moon is a very psychic sign or psychic planet. It's really our intuition, our gut. And it's trying to make changes, and this is a mutable T-square. So there's a lot of changes that have to come through our emotions, our intuition, and they need to be acted on and built upon as we come through the week. And I think that, especially with the apparently YouTube is not receiving enough video. Hold on a second. I apologize. I'll see if I can do something to fix this. Are you guys able to hear me and see me? I know it's working now. Okay. It says I have an error message, but I'll keep going yeah. Okay. I'll keep going. There we go. Now it says I have a connection again. My internet sucks. Thanks for putting up with my trashy internet. I try to give these lives and these talks, and maybe it was too much truth coming through right there about what we're building upon, about the vision and how the numbing's about to come off and what I was going through in the beginning. And how we, this Mars and this our ego and our identification and even our anger coming into Libra, and how that can be intensified with the mutual reception to Venus in Scorpio, which is a very intense sign, of course. And a lot of it comes back to the government with Pluto in Capricorn and the squares that we've been seeing to that and that we're going to see in October with the Sun and Mars. So I think we're really cultivating and building and harvesting really powerful relationships right now. What's just and fair. And even, of course, with Jupiter and Saturn here, retrograde in Aquarius, a lot of it is, figuring out people, the structures of people, groups, what's going on. I think a lot of people want to create win-wins in life, but it's so difficult right now because we're seeing so much energy in society and it's so split and divided that we're dealing with the most extremes when it comes to people, and how some people are going to call other people terrorists even though they just have self-love in a way and don't want to just take an experiment. Some people literally just want to see what happens a couple years maybe, I've talked to people like that. They're like, I might take it if I, knew people are going to be okay in a couple years. I mean, that's fair. That's reasonable. I mean, I think we need to find some sort of reason, but I think people are going to upset people more than people are already upset. And of course, we just saw on Friday with our president in the United States, if you're in there, really trying to stir the pot a lot of stirring of the pot about how people should be angry with other people who are going to be labeled terrorists. So that's fun. I think that that's part of this forecast is putting that out there and saying, that's part of the intensity. And as far as other stuff, I mean, I still think we are on the brink of like what is coming. This September is very interesting, and October especially with the helio perspective, the exact Saturn Uranus square, which we haven't even seen the full, Saturn Uranus, which is the government versus the people in a lot of ways. The science versus nature. It's one way to look at it. The experiment gone wrong, if you will, is one way to look at it too. Of course, Aquarius deals with science and experiments. Uranus too. So what's going to happen? It's a forceful thing, and we're seeing a lot of that force. And something came up too. I posted a reel on my Instagram last week about, what led to the Holocaust, which a lot of that was force jabs for tuberculosis. Some people didn't like that. I know it's a sensitive subject, but if you listen to people who survived that time and are reliving it, they're pretty upset about it because what are they seeing? They're seeing the same thing. And it's not like Hitler just marched in there, I'm a dictator, you will do what I want. No, he got office. He slowly took away rights. He slowly forced his rule. It was stages. And we're reliving those times with Uranus and Taurus. And I think it's important to know that. Are we really going to let this history repeat itself when we know what went down? And I know it's sensitive, and everybody's sensitive. It's Neptune and Pisces and the third decan, like in opposition to the sun. Of course people are sensitive right now. We're vulnerable. Immune systems can be vulnerable here. A lot of things are vulnerable. My son just got a little cold, But at the same time, there's a washing over of our spiritual body. And I think that the more we can use that identification and follow that knowing and follow that guidance, and I think Monday, a lot of that T-squared energy to the moon is pushing for that we're going to be able to make the creative changes in life to bring some sort of order to whatever might be chaotic in your personal life, whatever might be chaotic in the world. I think we're going to want to, of course, with Mars in Libra, we're going to want to find beauty. We're going to want to do the things to bring that into our life, to find that middle ground. But it's going to be a little weird. Mars doesn't want to be in, Mars wants to deal with itself, the ego. It wants to deal with what it wants, where it's going to move, how it's going to get it. And now Mercury retrograde's coming up. There's a lot about people, so we have to relate. And I know that's not always fun, and I know people are, on both sides, people are fed up with the other side. It's hard to see other angles, but we have to find some sort of middle ground while simultaneously harvesting the reality that we want and being very to the point with that. And the intensity ramps up, of course, with the Sun trine Pluto, which is great. I love Sun trine Pluto. I mean, talk about a deep soul expression, but it's coming out in very earthly ways. It is about doing the things, building what you need with the right people, building community, building connection. That should be fair. That's the common goal, but you got to definitely look for like-minded energies because there's no indoctrinating the other side. If somebody's just firm in their belief, they're just going to stay in that belief. So there's no point in trying to indoctrinate or convert. If we're trying to do that with people in our life, we're just going to get extremely angry with Mars in Libra. And be and then with Virgo, or with Venus in Scorpio, oh, but I need your connection, but just find beauty in this with me. Just see my side. No, I don't want to see your side. it's going to cause for a lot of intense, dramas. And then Venus is square Saturn this week, and I think that that's, not a fun transit either. I'll be honest, especially with a weak Venus, but Mars is kind of helping it out. And Mars is going to get close to a trine to Saturn, but it's not going to happen this week. But I mean, this is really relationship building for the future, and who sees the vision and who doesn't, and who sees the future and who doesn't, and who's just living in la la land, and who doesn't want to see the truth. But it's also like controlling, and I think on a collective level too. I mean, this is where interesting things can happen with finances. You know, especially it just seems like the financial sector, especially in the United States, and the dollar is hanging on by a thread, and it has been for a while. But it's especially with all the stimulus checks and everything that's happened through the last, what is it, 19 months now. Like, what is going on with institutional money? What is going on with where the government is spending their money? What is going on with controls of that? And I think that we are starting to see that, right? Even Biden said, like, if you don't get the in the arm, and you don't show that to your boss or your employer, you don't get to, they can terminate you, or it's a law. He's trying to pass a law that they have to terminate you. That is dicey, dicey, dicey stuff right there. And it's not constitutional, for one. So I think we all have to know our rights. And I think maybe this Venus square Saturn is going to be a good check of, like, finding your human rights, your divine rights, and sticking to those. It's almost like you have to take responsibility for your power. And I think that that's one of the beautiful things about that square, is on an individual basis. I mean, this is us taking that, like, really commitment and responsibility to our own empowerment. And instead of looking for hand-me-outs or help from governments, from the system, Capricorn, Saturn, like, this is where we maybe turn to the relationships. And that's why I think I've been saying relationships, and that's so important right now. Like, that's what's up. Like, that connection, people helping out, is going to be part of the most beautiful part of the transformation. Is there's so many people that want to help people. And we need to get, I don't want to say we need to get, but maybe not right away, but we need to start, like, figuring out ways outside of the matrix, even, if you will. Like, I think this is where we could realize how possible that is. That could be part of the vision with the T-square to the moon. And then it's about building from that. And maybe not just doing it in one day, but paying attention to the vision and paying attention to the connections and how to build new structures in our life that, can bring us some sense of comfort, can bring us some sense of, like, emotional security in a time where, like, I mean, we're having to deal with some heavy root chakra stuff. Like, big time. Like, people are, like, literally, like, how am I going to live if I don't want to be in the experiment? That's heavy stuff. But we'll get through it. I think, a lot of the people are ready for it. I think a lot of people are here, like, ready to take that vision somewhere of, like, what's gonna be the gift, what are the right connections, as we build this, full moon in Pisces, which I think is beautiful spiritually, because it's releasing a lot of the reality that we don't need anymore. And we are getting, Venus coming off of the square to Saturn, but it's going to be in opposition to Uranus. So we're back in that kind of, where are we going to go? Like, we got to move into the future of value, the future of sustainability, the future of how to find some sense of sustainability in a time where it's unstable. I think that comes through the connections. And this Mercury retrogrades, that's what it's having us rethink is who are the connections that I can build a new system with, that I can step into a new system with, that I can be my pure 100% authentic truthful self with. It can be friends. It doesn't have to be just like lover relationships. It could be groups. A lot of it is about groups. Jupiter and Saturn here in Aquarius, and they're both slowing down. Like Saturn's getting ready to station direct and come back online here, and Jupiter too. And Jupiter's going to come to 23 degrees, and then it's come to 22 where it's going to sit, and Saturn's coming just at 6 and then stationing, and it's still at 7. So, we're seeing a lot of slowdown. So we already have these retrograde planets. They're starting to slow down, except for Uranus. Uranus is going to start picking up the pace here. So our innovations are going to start getting hashed out quick. Like we're going to see what visions we had, what new paths, what connections, what people, what the world's really going to look like. We're going to go over that stuff again and be like, okay, I got it. And that's going to start moving quicker too. And then we're going to come back through that and reach new heights that, most of us haven't lived through yet there. Same with Pluto, same with Neptune. So, very interesting week. I think we have a lot to build. I think we have a lot to figure out with people. I think we have people are the main thing. Now that we have Mars in Libra and the sun's about to come into Libra, really the scope is on people in your life. So we got to figure those things out. They're going to bring the beauty, they're going to bring the balance, they're going to bring the harvest that we're looking for. And I know that might, some people don't want to. Some people are like, no, I'll do it myself. And maybe some people are in a position to do it themselves. But even then, if you could do it yourself, this is a time where, those people are going to have to help out and reach out to their brothers and sisters and be like, yo, I got your back if something weird happens. And that's where a lot of this is going to take place, is like, how can we have each other's back for justice? And how can we use our ego to fight for justice instead of, and this is justice for all. It's not just one side. The more we can come together as a collective, the better off we are. Like, we forget that we're not really fighting that many people. Like, that's the craziest part. They pit us against ourselves, so we feel like we're fighting a whole other political party or a whole other belief system. But really, it's like that meme. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but they take the red ants and the black ants and they put them in a jar, and they're fine in there until they shake the jar, and then those ants fight to the death because they think that the other ant shook up the jar when it was the person outside shaking the jar. It's a great analogy. Like, we get so worked up on what these other people are doing, but they're just being shaken by the jar just like we are. Anyways, I hope you guys are doing well. I see some people in the chat. Definitely appreciate you all for watching. I think, what else do I want to talk about this week? We're not going to see Mercury trine Jupiter yet. That's going to be next week too. Next week has a lot. Start off the week with the full moon. Mercury trine Jupiter. Mercury will go and station retrograde. Mercury will square Pluto. We're starting to feel that. We are going to start feeling that Mercury square Pluto this week, though. So, there is intense rewiring of the mind that we're going through and that we're still going to have to go through. This is only going to be the first. So we're going to be dealing with a lot of this. This is where people can actually change their mind. Like, Libra's flip-floppy, right? People always talk about like, oh, Libra, make a decision, flip-floppy. This is where people could jump the fence. And I've had visions of this before. Like, honestly, last time Mercury was retrograde, kind of funny. I'm rehashing this out now on a live. I was driving back from a festival I went to in June, and Mercury was retrograde, and it was square Neptune, ironically enough. Just had the eclipse. It was just had the Cazimi with the sun, and driving, and like I mentioned before we started this, so maybe that's how this all kind of tied back in together, but I space out when I drive, and I get into some visions. I'm a Sun Neptune, Sun Uranus. I don't know. I get places. I'm a good driver. But the vision was very prominent, and I was kind of sitting there driving like, I want to see something. God, will you please show me something important for the collective on this drive so I can go into that space. And it happened instantly right after I asked. And it looked like, Pangea, if you will, if you're familiar with that theory of the earth altogether. But it wasn't like a bunch of continents splitting, it was just two big continents splitting. And it had already split, it had already broken apart. But the gap wasn't too wide. The gap was just wide enough that if you dropped fear, that if you dropped the idea or the belief that you couldn't, that you could make it to the other side, but you would have to commit and go for it 100%. And the people that were on one side left so much room for other people to jump on from the other side. And they were living a very peaceful, they all looked very peaceful. And they left plenty of room, and they were even watching a little bit to see if somebody needed a hand. Like if someone grabbed on and was about to fall, like there was people ready to like help out. Everybody was it was very conscious on that side. You could just feel it. It was that energy. And the other side was chaos. And it was people running around like when you like zombies, to be honest. It looked like zombies. But there was a bunch of people on that side that were looking at this crack in that other side, and they just wanted to go over there so bad. You could tell that they just had a little bit of baggage. And it's so funny, the people on one side were carrying nothing. It was just them. They were wearing clothes, but they didn't have bags, they didn't have backpacks, purses. They were just there with just themselves. And the people on the other side, they all had something. And it was the people that were at the edge on that side of the chaos that they had something small, whether it was a backpack, a little knick-knack that they wanted. And I guess that was the metaphor. It's like they just have to drop one last little thing before they could have to be free to get to the other side. Interesting vision, but there were some people jumping in that vision, and it felt very real, especially for the times we were living again in, and that was back in June when everything was super chill. And maybe we're coming into that space. It's very interesting, I'll tell you right now, like having an Aquarius moon, Venus, North Node. Aquarius energy is so weird because you get out ahead, and it's something I've been working on too, even with horoscopes and stuff, is I will get out ahead a little too far. And, trying to hone in on my own Aquarius energy myself. But what is the future going to look like? We'll all have to see, and we'll have to build it together. But I think we have to be willing to let other people that might want to join in and be open to whatever their experience may be. Maybe it's people that got 2 shots and don't want to get a booster and have had enough, and they feel like this is bullshit. Like we got to be, everybody's got to be, we got to let people come to the light so that we can come together, so that we can take down the dark. Hopefully that analogy was helpful for somebody. It seemed important to me when I got it. All right, we'll jump into sun rising horoscopes. I'm going to take a sip of water. And sending you all my best. We will do these in order. And we will start with the Aries. And I will shuffle this deck, and I'm not going to shuffle it for every sign. So I'm putting the intent in now that the 12 cards that come out of this deck are exactly where they need to be for each of the 12 signs in order. Also, while I'm shuffling this, I was told today that somebody could see Chiron in my face. I feel like Chiron right now. I'm not going to lie. I have Chiron finishing in my 12th. It's been on my ascendant. Got really close to crossing. It's going to cross next year. It's squaring my sun. squaring my Jupiter, my Uranus, my Neptune, coming up on my Chiron, third quarter Chiron square next year. Like, yeah, I feel like Chiron. So if I wear that on my face, yeah, I'm dealing with some of that. Okay? I feel like a weirdo. I'm a weird astrologer. Like, and I feel like a ghost too. And Chiron's in my 12th, and it's square my Neptune, and my Neptune rules my 12th house. And I was telling Lori too, who's here. Like, I was like, I feel like a ghost. Like, I feel like I have some important information, and I can't even get it out there. Like, or if people see it, they don't even want to hear it. So yeah. Anyways, I feel like a wounded messenger, like a wounded guide right now. But at the same time, I don't. At the same time, I feel like I've learned so much, and throughout my life, and especially these past few years, and that I'm doing the right things and putting the message out there. And I have Pluto on my Mercury, and Mercury rules my third house, my sixth house. And, the message has been a little bit more intense lately. It was meant to be. And I've had to transform my mind and my own way of communicating and thinking, because if you watched my channel last year when I first started really putting these out, or my dailies, like, I was much, like, softer. Like, it's definitely gotten more intense over the past few weeks, and I've been having to deal with that sort of mental transformation too. So, little personal stuff, but love and appreciate you all so much for listening to me. All right, Aries, I got 2 cameras. Check this out. So, 2 cameras going and the screen going. So we're rolling here. All right, Aries. Let's check this week out for you. You are, in this final full week of the sun in your 6th house. It's opposing Neptune to start the week, and you're going to get that square with the moon in your 9th house. I mean, I think that this is a major reality check on where you're trying to expand and grow right now. And there's a lot of creativity and a lot of unseen things trying to come through to you. And it's all about what you do with that, where you take it, where you're going to go, what you're going to explore with that. And the exploration is much more internal with the moon. So it's not so much about really looking out into where you can go or what you can do. The south node's in your 9th house. That's not really where you want to go. You want to focus on your community, your mind, your communication, and bring that channeling and that vision out there. And then the moon comes into your 10th, like I talked about with the collective, and you want to build those things this week. And you're going to see the sun come off that opposition and trine Pluto in your 10th house. So there's a lot about your reality, the things you do on a day-to-day basis, and how you can do that at a higher level, how you can take on more responsibility to build something right now, and to make the changes that you need. Like, if you feel like you're stagnant, it's time to change. Like, there's a lot of mutable energy this week for you, but you also have Mars finishing up and coming into your 7th house. Mercury's in shadow in your 7th house. You're definitely dealing with figuring out how to act, how to communicate with other people, how to understand other people, how not to get upset with other people, how to let other people have their own opinion. But I think, communicate your vision. Put it out there. I think you're going to have to deal with something with people, and especially with Jupiter and Saturn in your 11th house and a Mercury getting ready to retrograde here in your 7th and Mars coming into your 7th. There is so much in your air houses. There's so much in these air signs. What are you doing to move forward into the future that you want to build, about the vision that you can see, with connecting with the parts of society that can do that with you, that can build that with you? And I think that that's where this week would be hard, is because if you're going to stay in something that's not changing with this 6th house finishing up, it's getting intense there. You're going to feel stressed. And if you're not making changes with the relationships that are bringing some sort of beauty into your life, you're going to feel stressed and people are going to piss you off. And that's where I think Venus here in your 8th house is like, look, are you going to keep messing around with people that don't show you the full amount of love and beauty that you want, that aren't willing to change the life for something better with you? Or are you just going to obsess over what once was? And then we're going to have Venus square Saturn this week. Like, you got to take responsibility for your power, but see the beauty in others, which is going to be the dilemma this week. is because it's probably going to bring up something, some shift with someone in your life, a relationship or a friend. And you're going to have to take responsibility for what's going to make your life better and what's going to bring the investment of beauty into your life and what isn't. And I think that that's a rough one. Like, so you're in a time of change. You're in a time of like stepping up and taking responsibility too for the life and the changes that you want. And that's going to bring the most beautiful transformation. That's going to bring something great into your life through the reflection of someone else. But you can't lose track of your value system here. And you can't lose track of what makes you happy and how to put your creative talents out there to the world. Let's see what the card is for you, Aries. Got the Four of Cups in reverse. Hmm. Yeah, I think this, especially with Neptune in your 12th house here, opposing the sun to start the week and the T square to the moon, like God's showing you how to make your life better and how to feel better about it. And like, what is it that you really want when it comes to people and connection? What's in that deep well that's going to bring you the happiness and love that you desire? And how can you balance it out? How can you make the changes necessary without just pushing the gift away or saying, nah, I'm good. Like, I don't want to connect to this because what is it? Just a belief? Maybe with the T square to the moon that we start off the week with in your ninth house? No, I don't believe I can feel happy. Like, people just suck. This could definitely be like shadow stuff too. Like having to look at yourself. Instead of looking and pointing the finger at someone else, maybe you have to look at yourself here and be like, why am I pushing away happiness or staying somewhere that's not bringing me happiness? Do I just like the intense drama in my life? Do I just, you know, I think there's a gift out there for you, Aries, and this is where you have to change things to get the gift. And if you push it away and push it away, then maybe it won't show up because you just keep pushing it away. Or maybe you just want it to look a certain way, but now you actually have to relate. You have to see what someone else is willing to offer. Like, what is someone going to offer? Maybe you have to wait and find the offer. Especially with your ruling planet coming into Libra, like maybe if you're just pushing, 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 maybe this is the time where you have to receive something instead of trying to push, 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 or expand and grow and do, 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 do. So maybe someone else has the gift, and you need to accept that hand that comes out to give it to you. All right, Taurus is next. Put a little fade on it too. Kind of cool. Mixing things up. See, I can adapt and change. I'm an Aries rising. I can do it. All right, Taurus. You have the sun finishing up in your fifth house. Super creative time, especially with the opposition to Neptune. You do not want to be blinded by what you can create right now. If you're feeling like stuck or not expressing yourself truly, I mean, this is what you got to push because that's where the gift is. The gift is how you can show people how to create. You almost have to like take the lead role and not shy away or not, just be like, I can do it all on my own. Like maybe Neptune spiritually is trying to say, hey, there's people in your life that can also bring something to the table, but you have to see that in them and you have to see it in you. And you have to realize that your creative potential can be such a guiding light right now. And you have that stability and you have that firmness in you, that other people may need. And maybe that's something that comes out. That moon will be in your ninth house for that T square. In your eighth house. If I said ninth, I meant eighth. That deals with people too, but it deals with power and it deals with intimacy and a lot of psychic ability too with the moon being in there. So I think you have to realize that for you to express yourself in the most authentic way, you have to be like fully expressing your intensity. Hold on one second. Thought, I just got to check my messages because sometimes my stream gets all funky and you never know. All right. It's the intensity of your heart and what makes you happy right now. I think this is a great week for you. because Mars is going to finish up. There's so much creativity that you can put out there, but you have to deal with other people, and you have to deal with like the bottom line when it comes to other people, and not obsess emotionally. Maybe you have to let go of something that's holding you back from your creative potential, so that you can connect with more people. Like if you're feeling like limited, maybe this is where you unlimit yourself and bring yourself out there to society in some way. Or maybe, I feel like you could be starting a new creative endeavor, but it's going to be something more intense. It's going to be like, I have to really put my true, raw, authentic self out there and be vulnerable. And I think that that's part of it too, is like a vulnerability this week to fully express. You also have Mars coming into your sixth house, which is going to give you a lot of oomph, and especially with the trine to Pluto with the Sun, and Pluto in that trine, and Pluto in your ninth here. Like, I think that the vision and the creativity is ever expanding right now, and that's part of the beauty of this transformation. Is there's some vision, there's something deep that needs to come out, and this is where you can expand on that, and you can put the work in to do it. And maybe the Sun in your sixth house, shows you what about reality you need to move around. What about your day-to-day life that could be purified? And how can you, get in there without stressing yourself out or without beating yourself up, but realize that it's that vulnerability and that ability to act on the day-to-day life that is going to let your creativity come out, that might bring the most beauty to you. And Mercury's there too in shadow. So there's a lot of, you're on it right now mentally, and you're going to be on it. And this is like really getting you right into the analytics of every little thing about yourself or others. And how do you piece that together? How do you like find a middle ground within your day-to-day life? Maybe it's work stuff. Maybe you're dealing with people at work, or relationships that need to be purified and figured out and tidied up. But I think that you're going to be a well-oiled machine to do these things, especially if it involves your full authentic expression. And we are dealing with Saturn and Jupiter still in your 10th house. So there's a lot about the work and responsibility and how you can blow that up more. And, it's awesome that you get Jupiter back in your 10th, because Jupiter in your 10th is like, there's so much that you can take on right now, and there's so much that you can do. And Saturn's like, yeah, do the work. If you do the work, you'll get the payout. And I think that Mars is going to make some really nice trines to this energy and do you a lot of favors. But it's about the day-to-day. It's about getting things in order. And Venus, of course, is in your 7th house. And I think that that's beautiful to have Venus here in your 7th, because it's going to help you relate to the people. It's going to help you relate to who is showing you the beauty. Like, what's the reflection like? Especially Venus in the 7th, like, it looks like a mirror. Like, people are going to be such a good reflection. You don't want to, not see the truth in that. So if you're getting a really weird reflection from somebody in your life, well, maybe you have to be more serious about that reflection, but more about what you're doing about it and how you're purifying and understanding it. And with that square to Saturn in your 10th house, it's pretty karmic, really. Like that's bringing up some karma around relationship stuff, but it's also having you make decisions. So you have to make decisions based on what you're seeing in yourself through other people. And is it beautiful? Is it pure? Is it what you want to see? Is it helping you further yourself? Is it part of your future and your accomplishments? Do you see this going forward or not? So I think that it's important that you make decisions based on what you're seeing, but it's not so much about blaming someone. It's not so much about just getting so critical about other people that you're not being true to yourself. And I think a lot of this comes down to being real and authentic with that square to your moon, to the moon in your 8th house. Like, you have to be real, truthful, and authentic with what's giving you the payout with others, and what's empowering you and what's not empowering you, and do the things to make those changes. And I think that you'll have all the energy to do it. And I think if you follow your heart, like, it's dope, because having the sun in your 5th is great, and it's helping a lot. So Do the things that make you happy. If you're not getting a happy reflection, what are you putting your investment there for? What is this? The Ace of Cups in reverse. Yeah. You had a bunch of fifth house stuff here, a new moon in your fifth, and why are you not starting the things that make you happy? Why are you not willing to go and overflow your cup of happiness and joy and love and start new things? Even if you like, I feel like Taurus are stubborn, right? Taurus gets the stubborn side. All the fixed signs do. Taurus might be the most. Like, and having Venus in your opposite sign here, like you're dealing with your opposite energy. Like if you're just getting stuck in something that doesn't let you fully express yourself or make changes or start new things to make you happy, like I feel like that has to be looked at. So pay attention to what your heart wants, what brings you the happiness, and that's where you're going to succeed the most. That's where you're going to find a lot of this 10th house lesson that you're going through. With Saturn there, is that you have to make big decisions to further yourself. And if you're just going to sit in something that's not letting you express or be authentic, then you're not in your truth. And you're not being vulnerable with others, and you're not being vulnerable with yourself. And maybe that's something that has to get looked at this week. Geminis. I just threw my pen off of this. Jesus. Huh. I got it. All right, Gemini. You have that sun finishing up this week. I mean, it's not going to leave yet, but it's finishing up in your fourth. Mars is finished up in your fourth. I mean, that's great to have Mars come out of your fourth house. You can feel like you're digging yourself in an emotional hole and just like stuck with Mars in the fourth. But at the same time, it's showing you where you needed to put your emotion and where you needed to move forward. And now it's in your fifth house and you can create from that. You found a foundation and the sun's fortifying that foundation this week, but it's still kind of teaching you like, I got to feel at home in my body so that I can fully create with this body and so that I can fully express myself and to find that happiness. So you're moving in a direction of happiness. And I think that's great because you could have been feeling like you're in a little hole and you're out, like you're climbing out now, especially with Mars. And then Mercury, your ruling planet's in shadow and it's in the fifth house too. So this is, I think, rehashing too a lot of the identification of your creativity and what is bringing that creativity out. What can you do you have to change things up? Do you have to rethink what you want to, fully show in your most authentic form to the world? You get that Neptune opposition to the sun in your 10th. So you're dealing with like maybe feeling uncomfortable a little bit, like, or a little bit unsure around like your public image or what people think of you, or if they saw you dig yourself a hole. That's probably what it is, Gemini. You're probably like, did people see me dig myself that emotional hole, or did I cover it up well? And then you're getting the square to the moon from those in your 7th. So I think a lot of it deals with like what other people like. That was part of the emotions, is like, what do other people think? What about my goals? Was I hitting those goals? Or am I now comfortable in myself? I think this is where you realize that foundation of comfort within yourself and getting some sense of moving in the direction that makes you feel the best is where most of the creativity is going to come from. It's going to shine, and it does deal with people and relationships in your life. And you have to realize that you can be secure with other people. You can be happy with other people. I think that's a big part of it, especially with Libra ruling your 5th house. Like you have to find twin-like energy. You're a Gemini. It's just about finding the relationships that feel you, that understand you, that see the depth that you've been in, that you are. And I think that's where you can let a lot of creativity out and a lot of heart. And you want to move in that direction. Venus is in your 6th now, and it's square Saturn in your 9th. You don't want to feel blocked from love or feel like that's not possible in reality. Like, I feel like that kind of transit with Venus in your sixth square Saturn in the ninth is like there's no hope. I can't have there's no hope for relating to people. It's never gonna work out. There's always a block up. Like, is there really a block up? Or are you just not putting yourself out there in your most authentic form or being completely honest or truthful? Or do you feel like people just see you in a hole and they're judging you, but really, are you just judging yourself? So I think part of this week is like, wow, you can take huge steps out of this hole, but you have to realize that you have to put in the work to expand the vision of your reality and what you want it to be and how to bring that intense beauty into your life. And if you can do that, you're going to see that the right relationships are going to find you. You can see that if you're in the wrong relationships, those can change. But you have to trust your gut. And I think that that's a big part of this week. And with the sun trine Pluto in your eighth, I mean, really, you have to trust your gut. You have to trust where that calling is and who it's with. And are you willing to let go? Because maybe letting go is where the greatest release is. Or are you just holding things up? So that's the thing too. Like, I feel like with Neptune in the 10th, opposite the sun here, like maybe you've been feeling like, like, I don't know. Maybe people just never, no, people just don't understand. I think you have to show your depth. And if you show your depth, the transformation that you're looking for is going to come. But if you're just going to play on the surface or not really be vulnerable or give the truth of your deeper inner feelings and callings, you're going to feel like you're still in the hole. When really Mars is in your fifth house and it's time to really like create what's outside the hole and what feels good and what lights you up from the heart. And your mind's even trying to figure out what love is right now too. And it's going to rehash all this stuff with people. But it's good. It's showing you a lot. There's a lot of the vision out there. But this is where you have to believe that the vision is beautiful yourself and that it can go in that direction. So hopefully you found that helpful. Queen of Swords in reverse. Kind of funny we got that card. Yeah, I think you're being too cold. I think that you're being too cold, too particular, but not voicing, not just being honest and telling it how it is with that truth, or maybe thinking that you'll hurt other people's feelings if you give that full vulnerability and that full honesty, and that's gonna keep you in the hole. You kind of have to like be a cold bitch. No offense, like the Queen of Swords is a cold ass bitch, but she knows exactly what she wants. So this is where you can know what you want and you can see the vision, but if you're going to worry about what other people think and you're not just going to put that truth out there and pierce into that mental confidence, then you're not going to see the vision. It's not going to be the beauty you're looking for. So turn that around. If you need to be cold to get the purest reality that's going to show you the most beautiful reflection of what your heart wants and how you can create and make things happen, you need to be the Queen of Swords. I know. I know. I see Jolene in here. Sorry. Thanks for joining. All right, Cancer. Okay. Cancer. You're finishing up the sun in your third. A lot of this is about your mind, the communication. How are you expressing that? How are you bringing it out there? It's about your truth. What's your truth right now? It's a good time to figure that out. And whatever it is, bring it out there. How are you communicating? What's up with your community? Is it the community you want? It's in opposition to Neptune. Are you seeing clearly the vision of what you want to create and what you want that to look like here in the now? Is your here in the now making you feel good. The moon is going to make that T square in the sixth house. It's a lot of mutability. It's a lot of cadent houses. You could be feeling like your reality has to change and it has to change quick, or you're not going to find the emotional security that you want. And Mars just came into your fourth house. So you're dealing with that hole I was talking about with Geminis that they just crawled out of. You're kind of like crawling into the hole, but you're a Cancer, so you like the fourth house. So maybe it's a time to do that. Maybe it's a time to put more energy into your environment, your home, your family. What really makes you happy? What makes you feel secure? And if you're not getting that security in your reality, or you're feeling shaken up emotionally, don't stay in the yuck or the vision that's just like blah. Like, I think this is where you make changes to your here and your now by taking the truth of how you're feeling, the truth of the facts of your reality, and doing the things. And Mercury's, of course, in shadow in your fourth house. And it's not going to aspect a whole lot here this week. But it's there, so you're thinking a lot about maybe the nostalgia, the memories of the family, the past. And you're going to rehash that too, but you're going to figure out your emotional confidence and your emotional security. And I think that you're learning right now that you have to find that within yourself in a world that is very stirred up and crazy. And you have Chiron in your 10th in Aries. So it feels like the whole system and everything outside of you is probably the thing that's making you feel the most wounded. And I think right now, Cancer, you got to focus on your environment and your emotions and what's making you feel happy. And Venus is in your fifth house, and that's a beautiful thing. So Venus is showing you where a lot of the love can be found. It's probably closer than it is far. So if you're looking far out somewhere, that's probably not where the best happiness and love and feel good energy is. So I think it's a beautiful time for you to create. It's a beautiful time for you to relate to where the love's at and to find it. But you have to find that too. You have to really I think, love yourself. God, the fifth house is like the love house. Like, I think this might be really like with the fourth house energy. Like, you need to really make sure that you're giving yourself the love so that you can fully create. And that's what's going to make the changes you need to deal with relationships. Pluto's finishing up over the next couple years in your seventh house. And that's going to be great for you because you're going to have a lot of that relationship stuff completely figured out moving forward, where it's been a shit show for relationships for the last, especially 3 years, but 8 years too. And this sun's showing you in trine to that Pluto what the real connection's supposed to look like, where the real balance is. And it's like you have to understand that. You have to understand it and not keep going back into things that aren't working or that haven't worked in the past. And I think a lot of that's by that foundation that you're building, and that you're not just digging yourself a hole. And even if you are digging yourself a hole, you better make sure that it's a hole that you feel comfortable in. And you might have to, if people aren't making you feel comfortable, maybe they need to get out of the hole. Maybe this is just your hole right now. Something to consider. And with Venus in square to Saturn in your 8th house, if you're not getting the intensity that you're looking for, or you're not getting the match when it comes to that, or someone's taking your heart away or taking your love away or restricting your love, that's like part of the lesson too. Do you feel like you're fully able to express what makes you happy and bring you love? Or is there something outside of you that's taking that power of your heart away? And maybe that comes up this week. And I think that comes back to decisions for what makes you happy and what makes you comfortable. So that's part of the karma too, I would say, with Saturn in the 8th and even Jupiter back in the 8th, kind of, trying to blow these things up a little bit. I think Jupiter's trying to shine a light on some of these hidden feelings or maybe these vulnerabilities. But you also have to learn to trust too. And I think that could be a part of this square for you, is learning to trust the people that don't want to control you and letting go of the people that do want to control you. But there's a lot with people here for you, Cancer. The Empress reversed. I told you. You're not feeling nurtured. You're not feeling comfortable. You're gonna dig yourself into a hole that isn't comfortable. No, this is where you got to get that foundation strong. I would say Mars in your fourth is trying to make you strong internally so that you can get through this stuff, so that you can take care of yourself, so that you can take care of the people you love, the ones that do show you love, and that you're not letting someone dictate your love with Venus square Saturn in the eighth. So I think you need to get back to the roots of what makes you happy and what gives you the feeling that you can create beauty in your life. And if you're not feeling that, this is where the changes in your reality take place that we talked about with that square to the moon, that powerful T square that we get to start the week. These are fun. I don't know why you guys wanted me to do these again. I'm just kidding. Leo. All right, Leo. Sun's in your second house. It's finishing up. There's a lot about the physical world and your sustainability and your capacity to create that's starting to come to a head here. I think that this is a good time for you if you're putting your energy into what you want to build. If you're building something, it's going to give you the payout you're looking for, especially with the trine that we get to Pluto, which is in your sixth house. So like if you're willing to transform reality to get the payout you're looking for, you're golden. But if you're just going to stay stuck somewhere and you're doing something that isn't giving you the ultimate payout, there's that Neptune in opposition. Like, come on. See what the investment is, what your soul capital is. Know your worth, know your value, and then build it and make every change you can to get that. And that T square to the moon in the fifth, you have to be the Leo that you are. You have to shine. You have to show people how to lead with their heart right now. You have to lead with your heart right now. And I think that that's super important, especially with the North Node in your 11th. Like, you are showing people how to shine, how to create, how to be happy. But are you happy with your reality? Are you getting the reality that you want? This Pluto trine, I think, is going to help you so much if you use the vision that you get to get the ultimate payout. Where are you investing your time? And who are you investing it with? And are you seeing the bigger picture? And are you being able to express yourself 100%? And if you are, I think that this is a great time for you. But Venus in your fourth is definitely trying to find the comfort when it comes to relationships. And are the emotions there? Am I secure? Are you secure with yourself? I think that comes back to the self-worth thing, and it's going to square Saturn in your seventh. Like, people are going to be this like thorn in your side because they're not going to, you might be having breakthroughs with your heart this week, and they're going to be like, no, you don't get to feel good. I don't feel good, so you don't get to feel good. No, that's bullshit. Keep the people in your life that are supporting you and building with you and helping you create the reality you want and bring in the abundance that you're looking for. Anything else is a spell. Don't fall for that shit. And Mars is in your third. You have a powerful communication right now. You have a powerful message. Mercury's there, getting ready for a retrograde. Like, you are a huge messenger right now. It has to come straight from your soul, straight from your heart. And don't let people convince you that it's not true or it's not pure. And if it's not, and you know it's not, this is where you can create your way out of it. You can manifest your way out of it by following your heart and your gut and then expressing that and using your throat chakra. So not only is it your heart center, it's your sacral center, and it's your throat. And you got to use all three of those this week with people in your life so that you can get what you want. If you're not going to voice it, you're not going to get it. So whatever it is that you want to bring in and change and transform for the happiness and how you can show that happiness off, got to let it out. The Fool. Yeah. If you're not being a Leo and being 100% in your heart and leading with that value this week, you're going to feel lost and you're going to feel like a fool. And you're not, because maybe this is just a new journey of transforming your reality in some way that's maybe more inspirational. Maybe helping, other people see your courage, see your strength, and that could inspire. So it's interesting. I think that you're starting a new journey too with this card, and I would say it's about all the manifestation stuff that you want, and I think that that's great. And you're dealing with a big energy in your opposite sign of Aquarius, but if people don't want to see you manifest what you want or let you make the changes, or they're throwing some emotional blocks at you, like screw that. Like you're building here on this journey, and I don't think there's any reason to be afraid. This guy looks afraid. He does look like a fool. He's just like, "Rawr." I think you want to be open to what can come, and if you're not already seeing it, or you're feeling like your heart is blocked from what you want, like that's not part of the new journey. Virgo. Beep. Whoa. All right, Virgo. Happy birthday, Virgos. Truly happy birthday to you. Yeah, finishing up with that sun. Mars is finishing up in your first house. This has definitely been about your identification and where you're moving and what's up with this new Virgo. One more trip around the sun for you. Where have you grown to? What do you want? Time to identify with those wants and needs and get them going. Move in that direction. Mars is coming into your second house, so that's a great time to start doing the physical things to bring in what you're looking for. Really, acting from a place of knowing what you want. Do you know what you want? Now's a good time to figure that out. If you started something, you're going to find out if you want to continue it and if you want to hold that space and if it's going to bring in what you're looking for. Sun opposite Neptune to start the week in your seventh house. Are other people telling you not to do things that you want to do? Are they telling you that what you want this week isn't of value and that you should be doing what they want? If you are feeling that way, that's not the case. Or maybe, you're putting a lot of your attention into other people this week to start off when really you need to be focusing on your manifestations and what you want to build and create and how to voice and speak to those things and manifest. The second house is such a manifestation house, and you have to have the throat to manifest. So, especially with Mercury gearing up for a retrograde here, like, are you really putting your message out there of what you want? Are you telling the universe? Are you telling spirit what you want with people? What's bringing beauty into your life? The physical stuff. It's very physical right now. Also, the T-square to the moon, which is a big one on Monday too, which is your fourth house. So, definitely, especially moon being there in the fourth house, dealing with a lot of emotion. There's a lot of pressure there. I think it can be like taking you to the next level of your own security, but it's also, painting a pretty good picture of what doesn't bring you that inner happiness or inner security or trusting your gut. Have you been trusting your gut, or are other people convincing you otherwise? I think it's a good checkpoint on your foundation right now. You're like, okay, I see where my inner foundation is and what might need some work and what's going in the direction I want. Maybe family gets brought up, especially with the seventh house, like other people stuff, family stuff that kind of tests your courage maybe with the sun in the first house and with Mars in the second. Like, do you have the foundation to manifest the physical world that you want in the direction you want to go? Venus is in your third house, of course. You definitely want to communicate. I mean, anytime, people want to talk, I think that that's going to make you happy, and that's also going to help you manifest with people. It's going to, be good. You want to be putting that truth out there. If you're not expressing what makes you feel good in life, well, maybe you won't get it. Saturn is in your sixth house. Square that this week. So what kind of day-to-day things are stopping you from expressing what makes you happy or what brings you the value or the relationships that you want? And are you willing to maybe do something about that? Maybe make a choice, express your feelings even with the moon, like in that T-square to start the week? Interesting. And then the sun, is going to trine that Pluto in your fifth house. And I think that that's extremely powerful for you, Virgo, because that's your first and your fifth house. And this is like the I am and the I create places in your life, and it's extremely intense and powerful with this trine. And if you use it, you can create something amazing, but you have to be willing to speak and express and get what you want. And I think Saturn here is trying to keep you way too strict. Way too, this has to look this way. Does it? Does that even make you happy in your environment? Does that even bring you to the environment you want? Or is that just some routine that you're stuck in that you like to clean up every day? Oh, shit. Hopefully not. But if it does, I hope you're willing to make a decision to bring more beauty into your environment and into your day-to-day life, instead of just like feeling like the pressure of mundane reality or the day-to-day life isn't beautiful. This is where you can change that. You can make it beautiful, but you have to know what you want. You have to speak up for it, and you have to build it, and you have to build it with the right people. And I think that's great that the North Node's finishing up in your 10th house, because this really is about what you're doing for the future, putting yourself out there. So, I like this week for you, Virgo. I think that this is where you have to sort of like let go of how perfect everything needs to look so that you can actually make things happy in your environment and in your life, and manifest what's going to bring you the beauty you're looking for, and what's going to bring you what makes your heart the happiest in life, and what brings love into your life even more with your daily life. And if you're not seeing that, this is a great time to change that. The King of Wands. Fuck yeah. It's a great card for this reading. Are you the king of your heart? Are you the king of your happiness, or the queen? Are you the queen of your happiness and your heart right now? And are you going to create from that space, or are you just going to think that you can't? Or feel like you don't have the foundation within yourself to move in the direction to make that happen? Or things just have to look this way, or there's no other way? Is there no other way? This card says that you can make it happen. As long as you're in your heart, you're going to manifest, and you're going to rule your life and bring in what you want and create what you want. And you're going to sit on that throne of happiness. And I think that that's where the transformation is if you're moving in a direction that is lighting you up from your soul, illuminating your most authentic self, and you're doing the things to build the physical world that you want, and maybe letting go of some expectation of what it needs to look like, you're going to get the ultimate happiness. I like that card for you, Virgo. I do. Libra. Libra. All right, Libra, you're finishing this week, and you've been in this 12th house transit. Mars was in your 12th house. Mars is now in your first house. That's dope. There's been a lot of maybe subconscious or karmic things that have closed out in your life. And this is where you can take a lot of that creativity and a lot of that action for this new chapter. And you're coming up on your birthday. And I think that this is a powerful time, especially with Saturn and Jupiter in your 5th. Even though they're squaring Venus in your 2nd, that if you want to move in a direction that you really want to identify with, that is going to give you the justice and the balance and the beauty that you are always looking to find, why not do it now? Why not make the changes for that? Your ruling planet square Saturn. That's not fun, but it just means that you have to make a call. Are you going to let other people dictate what makes you happy? What lets you bring in abundance? What lets you bring in the confidence and the soul capital and the self-worth that you can have the things that you want in life? I think that this is an amazing time for you to see how much you can build and create if you're willing to do something and move in a direction. The more you do a direction that you feel called to from your heart right now, the more the gift is going to show up. But you can feel like a little paralyzed with your ruling planet in opposition to Saturn. Like, I can't I don't I don't want to be happy. I just want to stay in bleh. When Venus is in the second house of your chart and you have Mars in your first, it's like no. No, no, no. The best of the best. That's why I always say fifth house, second house, the best of the best. Are you getting the best of the best right now? And why not? And why are you not taking responsibility for how you can manifest that? And Mars is giving you all of the strength and power to do just that for yourself. But you have to pick what you want and do the things that you want, and that's what's going to bring in the abundance from whatever that may be. And of course, we get the opposition to Neptune to start the week in your sixth house. Like, I think that maybe you're too much in your subconscious right now and not looking at the daily life, not looking at reality super clearly. And with the square to your third house, with the moon for that first quarter square that you get on Monday too, I mean, this is about like really looking directly at your environment and your reality and being like, where does God really want me to make a change? What's going to make things better, and what's going to give me a better understanding about my reality? And instead of feeling like neurotic or stuck in maybe some anxiety, because I'll be honest, that transit's kind of hard for you with the 12th and the 6th and the 3rd. I mean, that could be a little anxiety ridden. But it's not like, but if you can grab your courage and your strength to identify with what you want that's going to make you happy, boom. And I think with the sun trining Pluto this week too in your fourth, it's about surrendering to what's going to make you the most comfortable. And that's an interesting thing because Pluto can obsess over comfort in the fourth house. So it's like maybe what once was comfortable isn't as comfortable in your environment anymore, and you're still kind of holding on to what that might look like. So maybe you have to like surrender to, the facts about what's going to be better in the future maybe, or what really you want to identify with right now. And I think that, if you trust your gut with that trine, like if you trust your gut and trust the synchronicities that find you this week, that's where you're going to be able to create the best of the best. And that's where you're going to have a firm understanding of who you are right now. And that's what this Mercury retrograde is trying to level you up with in your mind too, is just understanding yourself and how to make big decisions for what you really need, instead of maybe always worrying about how to take care of others or what you need to do for others. So I think this is a big level up this week and next week. For you of really identifying what is going to make you happy and attract in what you want when it comes to people in your life and what's going to expand your world right now instead of restrict it. Four of Wands, celebration, the homecoming card. I like that. I feel like you're coming home to yourself, to really feel like you can identify with what lights you up and what gives you the passion and the love and brings you the joy, and who you can celebrate that with. Like, is it the family? It's like a mother and child. I feel like, there's something about family, especially with the trine to Pluto in your fourth house here. Like maybe family is what can help you identify, and that could come in a bunch of different ways. But maybe that shows you the direction that you really want to go. Are you getting some good information from your family that is showing you how to have more fun and positivity in your life? Or is Saturn in your fifth house just like, I don't know, am I allowed to have fun? It's square my Venus. I don't know. Am I allowed to feel good right now or feel like I can create or bring in abundance? You can. I just think you have to realize that that party is within you, and you have to choose to have that party in life. And if you're not going to choose it, then you're going to feel maybe like you're not getting it. So I feel like you're wrapping up this 12th house transit of like surrendering to what isn't a party in your life any longer, so that you can move in the direction of what really does light you up and bring you the happiness. All right, Scorpio. All right, Scorpio. Well, you got that sun in your 11th house. A lot of people stuff.
kind of having to come out, come out of the little scorpion cave, out of the hole. It's finishing up, and it's coming into the darkness of the abyss of the 12th house that you might be looking forward to. Crazy Scorpios. But I think that a lot of it is about society right now and how to relate to that. And the opposition to Neptune is, I don't know, maybe relating too much to society, but forgetting about your own creative essence or what your heart really wants. But hopefully, using this Neptune to still find an amazing level of channeled creativity, and how to bring that out to people. I feel like this is a lot about this is, relating to the public and to people. Maybe it's through the internet, maybe not, but putting yourself out there at least. And it's going to make that T square to the moon on Monday in your second house. And I would say that this is definitely like really within the core of your body here, figuring out what it is you really want to manifest and who and what groups and what friends want to go in that space with you. And do they have do they have the sustainability that you're looking for? Do you have the sustainability that you're looking for? It's interesting having the south node there as well. Like, I feel like you're learning karmically with the north node there in your 8th house, like how to trust more, but also how to get to the bottom and like know like, this group of people maybe isn't in my best interest for my manifestations and what I want to bring into my life and what I want to have. But at the same time, you're learning which ones are going to bring that merge. Mars is coming into your 12th house, which is not terrible for Mars, but I don't think it's not Mars's favorite place to be. It's kind of ego dissolution in a way. So it's like, where's the universe trying to take you right now? And it's going to show you amazing ways that you can put your energy and where you can put that and how you can create and where you can go with that. But if you're just going to force in some direction right now with Mars in your 12th, and it's not like bringing you some sense of feeling like you're, I don't know, like acting from a place of where God wants you to go, you might feel a little blocked. So it can be extremely creative, and I think you're in a place where this moon's trying to show you what you can build emotionally and where you can have that very sustainable foundation. But is it just your ego that wants those things, or are you having to surrender to something bigger? And you might have to feel that through your ego this week. Mercury retrograde in your 12th, that's a rough one. But it's good too because it's not linear at all in your 12th house. You're definitely having a ton of visions, and it's kind of rewriting maybe what you think about everything, literally everything, and you might feel not very present mentally, but it's okay because you're going to come out of that in a while. It's going to take some time, but you're going to come out of that with a big vision of what you want to identify with and what makes the most sense to you. But I feel like karmically, you're dealing with a lot here, Scorpio, and a lot of it is a surrender moment, and it's a surrender to the things that have the best emotional connection, and I would say too the best emotional like payout long term. Like, are you investing your time and energy and resources into something that feels spiritually aligned or not? And if that spiritual understanding is there, it could be a pretty profound time for you. And then you have Venus in your first house, which is great. I mean, this time to love yourself might bring a little fire into your sense of self and like, oh yeah, I look good. And you probably do look good, Scorpio. And you know what? You should own that and give yourself the love that you need and move in a direction that brings you that sustainability within yourself. I think that that's so important. I think the moon lights that up too for you. But, there's probably parts that there's Mars transit this week and Mercury there that like, releasing some sense of what's beautiful in life so that you can really identify with what's beautiful in this like here and now moment. And I think that's important too with Pluto in your third house with the sun trining that Pluto, because really like what is in your here and now and what people are in your here and now and what does your mind really think about that? And maybe you're rehashing out a lot of what you thought you knew because maybe the people in your life or all these connections or understandings, like with the sun in your 11th house, like they're maybe just getting completely rewritten. So you want to bring in twin like energy. That's where maybe this is trying to teach you what you want to tribe up with and really putting your truth out there. 100%. The more you put your truth out there, the more you're going to feel the value within yourself. And especially with your ruling planet coming into the 12th, I think the more you're going to release some sense of karma that's going down right now. And your ruling planet Pluto is in that trine with the sun. So both your ruling planets are in a big point this week. So, and Venus square Saturn in your 4th. You have to take emotional responsibility for that investment in life and not let other people twist up your emotions. Seems like it's just a big inner grow up moment of releasing some past stuff to get into something really good, to get into the things that really make you happy. I feel like you're dealing with like home stuff maybe, or just emotions. Like, are you restricting your feelings right now? Maybe about yourself? Are you not being completely honest? I think the more honest you can be with yourself right now about how you're truly feeling, the better. Because especially with the 12th house transits you're coming up on and the Mercury retrograde there, you do not want to like just force your way if you're not feeling good within. Like if you're feeling good and that intuition's telling you that it's a yes, it's a yes. But if you're second guessing it or doubting yourself, maybe there's a reason why. And I think this week might be a good time to ask that question why and to have a good understanding of it so that you know exactly where the ego wants to push and where spirit wants to push you. Because if you follow where the universe is guiding you, I think that you're going to find a lot of empowerment and a lot of capacity to create exactly what it is you want to bring in and attract that in. Two of Cups in reverse. Woo. Well, it's the soulmate card in reverse. We don't have Venus opposing that Uranus in your 7th yet, but it's getting there. So where's the twin-like energy at in your life? And I kind of mentioned that with Pluto in your 3rd, with the trine to your sun. I think you're rehashing a lot of stuff out with relationships. You do have Libra 12th house. So there's a lot of stuff with people that I think you're rehashing out and making sure that you have that foundation within yourself so that you can bring in whatever the divine union that's meant to be. And maybe that divine union is really meant to be focused on yourself right now with Venus square Saturn in your 1st and 4th house. Like you have to really figure out what you want and what's going on inwardly. And I think once you have that figured out, you're going to attract in what it is you're looking for in crazy, weird ways with Uranus in your 7th. But focus on what really does bring you the happiness and how to attract that in. And I think that you can do it, but again, if you're just pushing for something that isn't giving some sort of payout or some sort of backup from the universe here with Mars and a Mercury retrograde coming in your 12th house, like, 12th house transits are hard because if you try and flex on the universe will outflex you every time. So sometimes you have to surrender, and I feel like you're in that moment now where you have to be like, okay. And that's your sign too, Scorpio. Like, sometimes you have that ultimate power, and you are that powerhouse, and then sometimes you realize that power got taken away. And that helps you grow. It helps us all grow and evolve. And maybe this is a time where you have to kind of let go of the reins of power so that you can have that surrender moment to see what the universe wants to empower you with. And who that would be connecting with. And if it has that divine union and that divine soulmate connection or soul tribe connection with the sun in your 11th too. That means we're on Sagittarius now. We need to refill the water. Hopefully you guys enjoy these long, drawn-out shows and these weeklies. I'll try and do them as much as I can if you do. Oh, I just saw Scorpio Pluto generation in the chat. Generation Alpha. Those kids are going to be badass, but We can't let them get indoctrinated any more than they have been. Just some real talk on that, because they're going to rebuild the new system. They're going to be intricate in that. And they're not called Generation Alpha for nothing. All right, Sagittarius. 4 more to go. We got this. I got this. All right, Sag. Sun is finishing up in your 10th. You just had a new moon in your 10th. Like, this is a big time for you putting yourself out there. And I think a lot of Sages are really like stepping into that mission and what responsibilities they really want to take on right now. It's a time to do the work, to do the responsibilities, to do the things that are going to take you into the future you want. It's an opposition to Neptune, though. So that kind of like slows things down a little bit and kind of like numbs it out. Like, are you just taking days off? Are you just kind of like, I don't want to do it, you know? Or are you seeing that Spirit's really pushing you in a direction here of like how to maybe bring in that deep foundation out to the world and really be in that vulnerable place to achieve from a very deep place that is most authentic to you. And it's going to square that moon when it comes into your first house. And I think that that's really putting a lot of pressure on, again, like that emotional foundation for you to push forward with what really is going to make you happy, what's going to help you accomplish and achieve and start the things that you want. You know, Mars is coming into your 11th house this week. I think a lot of it's about connecting with the people and a lot of, maybe looking at these new inventive ways that you can push in some direction. And I think some of it, a lot of it's probably very intuitive. It's very like, what's your gut say? And then are you ready to act on those visions and bring in those ideals and connect with the right people too that want to help you build what you're building for the future, want to help you tribe up in that area. And Mercury's getting ready to retrograde there. So I think you're going to, like, there's a lot that you're hashing out in your mind about people and like where this future is going for yourself and what this is going to look like. And it's all going to get worked out, but maybe it's a little confusing now, or especially, with the Sun Neptune opposition. But it's going to show you your genius. Like, Mercury retrograde in the 11th will show you your genius when it's all said and done. You're going to have so much vision and foresight mentally about a lot of the things you want to innovate. And Mars is backing that up. So I think it's a time to do the things, to put yourself out there, to connect with people. Even if you have to rehash it or go back, you're just going to figure it out better. So this is a time where I think you're figuring out how to fix things and make things better and how you want to emotionally put that out there to the world. Venus is in your 12th house. And, it's an interesting time, Venus in the 12th. It can be extremely beautiful, but at the same time, can be a little delusional around maybe people's intentions, maybe thinking that other people, are really doing the stuff that you kind of see in that 11th house along with your visions. They might say they are, but are they really? So you want to use your own spiritual discernment about what is happening with the people you're relating to. And it's going to square Saturn in your 3rd. And, make sure the conversations are pure. I would say if the conversations have the truth and the connection, or like you can see a lot of the beauty and the vision that you do want to bring around, but, maybe people are, I don't know, this week you might deal with people really like trying to make you think that your vision has to look a certain way, or trying to think that maybe you're not thinking things clearly, but that's because you're so far into the future already with Mercury and Mars in your 11th house that maybe somebody in your community or somebody in your day-to-day life is trying to kind of like halt sort of this ever expanding creative potential that I think you could be finding. So I think this is a powerful time for Sagittarius. But I don't think you want to let people put a spell on you or trick you. Like, you're going to have to pay attention with this Venus-Saturn square. Like, what's getting implanted in your mind, and does it align with the vision that you've been channeling? Because this Mercury retrograde in your 11th you're going to channel a big vision. And you already are a visionary as a Sag. So what's that future and that vision going to look like? And this T squared of the moon is like, are you ready to emotionally identify with that? And the sun's going to trine Pluto in your second house. So I think a lot of these things that you're dedicating to, or these responsibilities that you're taking on, like these are gonna bring in the abundance, and it's the vision, and you're prepping for it. So you want to take these things on, and I think you want to really realize that you have the capacity to create if you can identify and not let other people kind of like, I don't know. I feel like karmically, with Venus in your 12th square Saturn, especially Saturn ruling karma, and the 12th house being very karmic, like karmically, someone's gonna try and hold you back from these visions or this understanding of what you want to identify with and create. You want to take on as much as you can and keep moving for the visions that you have, because I would imagine if you're focusing on that and making sure that the relationships are pure and the tribe is there, that those visions are going to pay out for you if you know your worth, and maybe your worth is getting transformed through this time. Card for you is the Three of Swords in reverse. So yeah, I mean, whatever's like not showing you the beautiful vision, or whatever's like kind of making you feel heartbroken this week, like bye bye, time to get out of that. So I think you're gonna have a really good understanding of what's trying to bring you down and what's maybe trying to lower your vibe, and how to stay strong in your mind so that you can really attract in what you want, and that you can identify with the future that you're seeing, and how to make that happen, and how to put those building blocks into place for good and get that foundation laid for what's coming for you, which is has a lot to do with people right now. So I wouldn't say do it all on your own, but don't mess around with people that are trying to, I don't know, keep you in like a mental heartbreak situation where they're just like picking at you and like, no, that vision isn't good enough. Like, what? Like, how dare you tell me my vision isn't good enough? But at the same time, you know, North Node in your seventh house, take it in, try to understand what they're saying, but if it doesn't resonate, it doesn't resonate. And if it makes you feel heartbroken or out of your, space of comfort, like, it could be two things. Venus in the 12th, it could be karmic, and you need to use that reflection to see the beauty of how you can make and create beauty by letting things come to an end. Or you just need to say, nah, doesn't resonate with me. It could be both. Capricorn. I need to pour some water. I apologize. A mental heartbreak. That's how I look at the Three of Wands in a lot of ways. Or Three of Swords, because it's a mental card with swords, but it is like the heartbreak card. So it's like, mentally we put ourselves in heartbreak situations all the time. Why do we do these things to ourselves? Why don't we just change our mind? But then that's the Aquarius in me, like, fuck it, I'll just disconnect and go do something else. All right. I'm almost ready to do Capricorn's reading. Give me a second. Just a second. I want to wipe the sweat off of my face while I'm not on camera, okay? It gets hot in here. I'm like so ready for winter. I'm ready. Okay. Capricorn. This is you're trying to expand a lot of visions right now with the sun finishing up in your ninth house, coming off a new moon in your ninth house. Like, what are you going to do with these visions? This is a powerful time for you. Mars is coming into your 10th house. This is go time. This is literally like, what are you building? What are you going to do? And who's doing it with you? Venus is in your 11th house. Like, people are important. You want to connect with people. Are people part, people rule your 10th house. You know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes you can't build it all on your own, but at the same time, this is you figuring out too, with a Mercury shadow and retrograde coming in your 10th house, like really where really, where are you trying to go and build right now? I think that this is a great time. You're getting a lot of visions, and even with Neptune in your third house, you still want to be logical. You still want to make like factual sense of these things, of these visions. Do they make sense? Can I do it? Like, I feel like you're putting a business plan together right now for the future and the expansion that that can bring. So you're having a ton of big ideas, and it's like bringing those big ideas and those big dreams and visions into the 10th house and making it real, dedicating to them. Mars is going to give you a big boost of energy to do those things. So I do like this week a lot for Capricorn. Just with that ingress, Mars loves the 10th, and the sun's getting ready to come into your 10th house too. And you're a Capricorn and you love the 10th house. So I feel like you're in a really positive place right now. A lot of vision expanding, a lot of maybe getting your beliefs in order, but try to make sure that what you are trying to build has some sort of factual evidence. And I would say that's the best way to go through it. And then, of course, the moon will be in your 12th house for that first quarter square this week. And I think that that's going to be a big point to start this week off, too, because really there's a bigger vision. It's really the vision that I think the universe has in store for you. I feel like it has a karmic relation to it. Um, and you want to really move in that direction. So if you're building something and you're not seeing something good or something that is feeling like it's working, I think this is where the universe is going to show you right off the bat this week if it's working or not. And it's up to you to discern that spiritually and make sure that you're kind of like building something from that position. If you are, I think that this is like, boom, baby. The universe is going to give you a kick in the butt in a good way. But that Venus is square Saturn in your second house. So I think you really want to like see this, the beauty in all people and create win-wins in relationships. And I think that, maybe wanting to spend time with friends and groups or something in society. Like, you're definitely interested in society right now in some way, shape, or form. But then there's Saturn in your second house. Like, get to work if you want to manifest. So I think you're learning too right now, like, what's the best way to put this? I think you're learning what parts of society are giving you the value that you really want in your vision of the future you can create. And that might be part of this moon also starting in your 12th house, is like there could be a lot of things that need to be expressed with people this week so that you're getting the ultimate connection and the ultimate value out of your connections for these futures that you might be looking into, or the future that you're looking into, or the relationships that you're looking into. But I think if you're feeling like someone else, because I definitely look at Saturn as like outside, whether it's society or other people in life, especially in Aquarius, like halting your visions of what you can create right now, that's something that you're going to want to look at. Like, are people trying to help you manifest right now, or are they just trying to hold you back from that? And is that making you feel like less than, or is that taking your self-confidence away? When this is a time for you to really step into your suit and your office and make it happen. I feel like you're going to the most important board meeting of your life this week. Every day could be that important board meeting, but this is a good time to boss up and to identify with that. And Saturn is your ruling planet, and it's square Venus, so if you want to connect, it better be of the best value in life. If you're not getting the value, if it's not giving you the payout, it ain't worth the connection. And we got Pluto in your first house with the trine to the sun. And I think that that's extremely powerful for you too, if you're going to act and move in a direction of what you want to see your deepest soul desires identify with and create and bring this vision out. And what are you expanding and growing on right now? And does it involve like your self-betterment and what you can do to create something big in life? And if people are stopping you from that or holding those visions back, I think that's one of the most important things that you need to look at right now. But I think you're trying to get down to business, especially with the North Node in your sixth house. Like, what are you doing on the daily basis to bring it out? I shouldn't be this nervous. Oh, geez. Getting called out for being nervous. I don't feel nervous. I just get tired of talking after so long. Nine of Cups. Yeah, that's great. This is you finding a ton of happiness. So trying to reach that like pinnacle here. And I think it's really a good time for you to realize all the blessings that have shown up in your life and all these visions that you can bring out and what's going to make you happy. And it's time to do those things because you're one step away from ultimate fulfillment and happiness. But you don't want to give up now, or you don't want to feel like, you can't reach the top because you're almost to that pinnacle as we speak. So I like this week a lot for you. And I think that this is where you find a lot of that inner authority to go after all the desires and visions that you've seen. So powerful time for the Caps. I see you, Yvette, calling me nervous in the chat. Looking forward to seeing you this week. What else are you guys talking about? We're kidding in case he reads this. Told you he'd see it. I love you guys. I'm just playing. I don't know why. I haven't looked at the chat much this entire time. And like that one, just for some reason, was just like... I'm not nervous. Gosh, I've gone this far. How long have we been going live for? I'm just like... I get to the end and I don't even know. It's been a while. I started at 8, 2 hours. It's just like a lot of talking, you know? I did have a long week. My 4-year-old, almost 4-year-old, kicks my ass. It makes me like that is so my biggest responsibility in relationship. Like he makes me just go, 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 go. Daddy, daddy, daddy. I love him to death, but he's got Venus in Scorpio, and he's a Scorpio rising. That kid is obsessive. Needs it, his attention and what he wants. He's a first house son too. It's just like, I need you, Dad. You're my relationship partner too. It's a lot, but I love him to death. All right. Yeah, it's been 2 hours already. Kind of crazy. Lori said I was nervous. Oh, jeez. She would. All right. We're on to Aquarius. Probably because I was sweating. I'm not sweating because I'm nervous. Like, it's like you would be surprised how warm that LED light gets. It's crazy. Because LEDs, like, don't put off heat, but that one does. But that one does. All right, Aqua. Got that sun finishing up in your 8th house. Come on, give me the pen. There we go. Got that sun about to finish up in your 8th house. Of course, you had the new moon in your 8th house. I mean, it's a transformative time. It's a deep dive into your well of emotion. Like, what do you really want? What makes you feel comfortable? And what doesn't? And that's the thing, is sometimes you think something makes you feel comfortable, and really, it doesn't. And then the universe takes it away because you were just like, I don't want to deal with it. So that's why the endings and beginnings can happen a lot there. But it's super transformative because you realize so much about your deeper psychology and what you really want that ultimate investment to be. So I think you're learning a lot about that and really finding your empowerment through this rise up. You're getting close to that. And Mars finished up in your 8th house, and it's now in your 9th house. And I think this is giving you a ton of energy to identify with when it comes to where you want to expand and what you're rising up with through what you may have saw or what you may have transformed in your life. And that sun is, of course, starting off the week with the opposition to Neptune. So it's like, you have to remember your own self-worth and value too, I think, with Neptune in the second. And you don't want to just like put all your energy into merging with other people. I think this is where maybe this has been the lesson, is like, okay, really got to focus in on what are my deep emotional needs and what can I bring in and create for myself, but also who is there to give me the power and the merger that I'm looking for. And maybe it's just like having like feelings of intimacy that you wanted. Maybe it wasn't there, maybe it was there. But realizing that maybe you have to, love yourself regardless. I don't know why I felt called to say that, but it seemed important. It's going to T-square the moon in your 11th house. So it does come to people in your life and connection. And, maybe it's the big switch of like connection, disconnection here emotionally. And that's like where you're finding the greatest payout. is in if you're able to connect. Oh, get a desk fan. I have a fan, but it's loud. I'll turn it up. Thank you so much, Jolene. You're so sweet. I just don't want it to. I want. I like to have a good production here, even though it's choppy. I know it is. You guys are so funny. Oh man, I feel like emotionally, this is where it's the great connection disconnection for you, and I know you're an Aquarius too, so I appreciate you. Like, who's really giving you the soul capital? Are you giving it to yourself, and are you connecting to that? Are you really looking at for people outside of you? Because remember that South node's in your 11th house and the North node's in your 5th house. You got to remember that that ultimate connection, that ultimate self-love, that value is within you, and you're having to put that out there. You're having to create from that space right now. And I think that this transit is big for that. It's like, are you connecting with people that are helping you grow and expand, and identifying with that expansion and what more you can take in, and getting out of any state of fear about disconnection or detachment. And Mercury's getting ready to retrograde in your ninth house too, and Mercury is not linear there either. Kind of like I was talking Mercury in the 12th for Scorpio. Like, this is where you're going to see a ton of big visions, and you might not understand how you figure some things out. It's not going to make logical sense. But even that moon in the 11th, like, that could be like some deep channeling about the future that you get, and how to really connect with that, and how to really transform your life through that connection. And this Mercury, shadow and retro is also, it's out of the box. It's a bigger, expansive, just vision and knowing. And you don't want to confuse yourself about thinking like, well, does it have factual evidence behind it, or does it make sense? Trust that you're getting what you need right now. And I think Pluto in your 12th with the trine of the sun's also helping with that, because you kind of have to surrender that you're getting the information you need. You're getting what spirit wants you to use to evolve and to grow and to transform right now. Maybe it doesn't all make sense. Maybe it does. But I think just identifying with where things are progressing and what's taking place is super important, so that you can transform, let go of things, and connect to your visions and connect to what's expanding and growing and identify with those. And with Venus in your 10th house, it's interesting having that square in your 11th house, because Venus is in your 10th house. Like, well, if people aren't committing to you long term, are they worth it? Like, for real. So that might be part of it too. But I think you're also ready to attract in the future that you want. You're ready to build and create what's going to bring you the beauty that you want. So you want to use the visions that you're getting. That's going to be important. And make sure that, there's a strong commitment with people right now. If there's not, it's probably worth considering turning the disconnect switch, which you're an Aquarius. You're pretty good at hitting that switch. But yeah, who are you building relationships with long term right now, and who's going into that transformative space with you and who isn't? And Saturn square that Venus in your first house. So, I mean, this is a big grow up moment for you with Saturn in your first house. I mean, you're literally learning how to take more authority in your life right now. So this might be a big time, a big decision time of you taking that authority in your life, within relationships and within what beauty you want to bring in and manifest. And are you going to let the world dictate what brings you beauty, or other people dictate what brings you the identification of the beauty you want? And those might be some solid questions in this time. And then making sure that you're letting your gut guide you and letting those visions guide you, and not letting anything hold you back from that. Because this is where you can take a lot of authority in your life. Like, you're the boss now, Aquarius. You got Saturn there. Capricorn lost boss status and you gained it. The Knave of Swords, so the Page of Swords. I think you have a message right now. You might not understand exactly what that message is, but that's okay. Like, continue to be curious, continue to, figure out what this whole vision is or what makes the most sense. Maybe it doesn't all make complete sense right now, maybe it does. But I think you want to keep, like, kind of a young attitude about what it might be that's coming in, or how to have the full understanding or get to that understanding at some point. But it's like you don't have to have it all figured out now. And I think part of it is the message. So, I mean, maybe it's taking a lot of authority for whatever has come through about where you want to go and where that transformation is trying to take you as well. And keeping like youthful energy instead of like Saturn being in your first and just being like an old man or an old woman, like rah, crotchety. Like, I think you want to bring that young, truthful energy, and that'll help you fully express. And I think overall, like, it'll give you empowerment, which would be nice. Self empowerment's always good. Pisces. Pisces. Oh man, the Pisces. Okay. Okay, fishies. Well, seventh house did have a new moon there, sun's there, Mars finished up in your seventh house. A lot of relationship stuff, a lot of other people stuff. Other people could be, especially with Mars finishing up there, other people could be triggering you a lot, trying to find balance there. But Mars is now in your eighth house, and I think Mars likes that because you're ready to move into the intense waters. What was balanced? What was the beauty that you were looking for? Is there the solid emotional connection there or not? And where's the power at? Are you merging with beauty? Or are you merging with what doesn't bring you beauty? I think whatever it is, you're going to be able to intuitively identify and literally probe into whatever area it is with people that does make the most sense and gives you the most emotional payout that you're looking for. So Mars in the eighth is going to help you out a bunch in terms of just letting your intuition and acting from that, because you can penetrate deeply into your desires. What are your desires? Mercury's in shadow in your eighth house. What is the intense stuff that you're going through? What's up with the transformation? Especially maybe within your mind, getting ready for a retrograde in your eighth house. That's a lot to deal with. It could be showing you a lot of the darker sides that you don't want to deal with. Maybe just mentally. But I think you have to be in a place to be truthful and vulnerable with yourself and what does come up. And, are those thoughts yours or are they not? Are they implanted? I think intuitively you'll know. You'll just be able to get to the bottom of it. But you may be asking those questions. Venus is now in your ninth house. It's great. I think that, it's nice to have Venus there because it's going to show you what the love and what the vision can be. And maybe it's intense because you do have a Scorpio ninth house. So like maybe the vision does need to be deep and intense. But are you getting that connection with relationships? Do they feel like they're expanding your world or are they restricting your world? Saturn is in square to that Venus in your 12th house. I feel like that's dealing with some karmic relationship stuff too. With Saturn in your 12th, square Venus. What's up with the relationships right now? What's up with the people in your life? Are they expanding your world or are they keeping you, Saturn in the 12th, like locked up? So are you expanding your heart and expanding love, or are you feeling locked up? Or like you got incarcerated? Incarcerated. Sun in opposition to Neptune in your first. I mean, this would be like dealing with so much people stuff that you're forgetting what it is about yourself that is that true essence, and like your own ego, or getting too tied up in maybe relationships or too obsessive over other people. That are you focusing on number one, Pisces? Are you focusing on yourself? And that moon's going to be in your 10th house for that square. And I like that square for you a lot because I think it's really forcing you to make big decisions about relationships and about what you want to identify with, and to not like skimp on yourself, to not just like put yourself back or be too worried about what other people are doing, but to really find that empowerment emotionally for like what you want to move in the direction of. What are the goals? Who are the people there? And it's interesting because the south node's there and the fourth or the north node's in your fourth house. So like a lot of it is about finding your ego. A lot of it is about finding that emotional you. Like who exactly are you right now? You have a lot going on in your 12th house. I mean, there's a lot of karmic stuff playing out already. And then Venus, like, I think it's good though. I think, Jupiter's even bringing some more of that too, of like, the more you're connecting with where God's taking you, that's where the expanse is. And you're not going to be locked up if you're in that space. But if you're just like trying to identify with what once was, that isn't bringing pureness to your relationships, or that isn't like feeling like it's got the passion or the intensity that you're looking for, I think that's something to look at. And then Pluto and the sun are trine. Pluto's in your 11th house, so more people stuff here. And I think you're trying to really get to the bottom of what you want with people, and who matches up with you energetically and on a soul level, and who does not. And I think that that's in bringing some intensity around just society in general. And we talked about that already, but I think you can create win-wins, but you have to also remember what you really want to, and to focus on your foundation and to build from that. And I think that if you're in that space and you're using that transformative energy, like this is a powerful week for you, especially getting ready for a full moon next Monday in your first house. This is the build up to that sort of like past identification release. And then after, next time you get a full moon in your sign, Jupiter will be there. Jupiter might not. Actually, Jupiter will be in Aries in your second house. So yeah, this is a big time for you. A lot about people, a lot about yourself, finding the in-between, what you really want, how to relate. King of Swords reversed. That's an interesting card. I feel like that's a lot of like this understanding of your own empowerment and who you are right now and how to create from that space and how to take control. Even if you feel like you have to be a little cold. Like the swords are kind of cold, especially with the suits, but like this is where you're justifying what is actually balanced and what isn't. And I think if you're not going to identify with what you really want, and you're just going to be focused on what other people need or want, or what you think they want, it's going to be kind of a slippery week. So it's a time to make big decisions, and it's time to try and find mental clarity. Even if your mind's going through some sense of, darkness or transformation, that's where the clarity is. You just got to shine a light on that vulnerability first. Much love, Pisces. I did it. We did it, guys. Guys and girls. Hope you enjoyed the show. It was a long one. I appreciate you guys for hanging out. I love you all very much. I'm going to turn this live off and film the daily for tomorrow and film the tarot show. And yeah, I love you guys. Let's get through this week. Let's keep that positivity up. Relate to people. I think the stuff I said when I first started about the Collective Weekly was all pretty important in some way, shape, or form. Definitely a different channel. But I think it was important nonetheless. And I hope that you all enjoyed. And sending you all my love and best. Thank you so much for being here with me. And I will see you next time. Peace.